Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Looks like we have our work cut out for us today. This is an unusual Penn reel, so I thought I would do it. I've done quite a few Penn reels, but I haven't done this one. This is a Penn Mag 980. It's got a magnetic control adjuster right here on the side spool that puts tension on or relieves tension from the spool in casting. This one belongs to Gilbert down in Texas, and he had asked me to kind of tune it up. He had a problem. Something happened. I don't know if they went inside or not, but we have an anti-reverse dog that's been attached to the line on the outside here. I think that maybe he tried to take it apart, or maybe it just came apart, or something happened. Regardless, the reel doesn't backpedal now. And we'll show you how to do this reel, show you how to completely take the reel apart, how to service it, how to get it back out there fishing again. And yeah, we'll even focus on how to reinstall this dog here. All right. Well, we got to do a couple of things here to get started, and one of them is kind of untangle what we have. Sometimes the best answer to that one is simply to just get a scissor and cut it off. And if you do that, just make sure when you're working on your bench that you find those pieces. You don't want them tangling into your next project somewhere. And also, if you've just done what I've done here to kind of cut some of these things, probably want to go back and just re-spool this line. I'm also noticing as we're doing this that pre-spool release does not work. So there's something jammed up under there, and we're just going to leave this as it is for a moment. We'll probably do something with it later. But for now, let's get underneath this thing. Let's figure out what's jamming up the mechanism. Let's show you how this reel is made. And if you have one of these reels, you'll learn how to service it. Well, a couple of things. When I take my pieces and parts off, I put them into a parts tray. That's the bottom of a fast food container. You don't need any fancy part trays. You don't have to go out and buy one. Just find a central repository where you can just put your pieces and parts and take them off, so that when you got to put them back together again, well, you know where they are. We're going to remove the handle now, and you do that by removing the handle screw. You saw the wrench that I was using to do that. And this handle is bent. You can see a big bow in this. So I don't know what happened to that, but if you have a vise, you can just kind of gently squeeze it back into position. It's pretty flexible. You can see just with one quick turn, it's pretty much back together again. There's another way to do it too that I use from time to time. This isn't the right hammer, but I have a very heavy hammer, and if you just smack it in the middle, that'll rebend it for you as well. Okay, simple tips. This one is a little tension washer that goes between the star adjuster and the handle, the back end of the handle. And we'll take the star adjuster off. You'll find another one there. So what you want to do is you want to pay attention to where these pieces parts come from and where they go to. That way when you go to reinstall, you'll know how to put them back together again. This one appears to have 4 side plate screws, and we'll go ahead and take them off. These are flat plated screws. And while I do that, I want to encourage you to watch my videos that I post by subscribing. And if you subscribe, hit that notification button, and you'll always find out when I am posting new videos. And you'll be able to make a determination as to whether that's a video that you want to watch. And I work on all kinds of reels. I work on, well, conventional reels like this. I work on bait casters, round and low profile. I work on big trolling reels and very small ultralight fishing reels. Basically whatever comes in my shop. That's what you'll get a look at. And subscribing will let you know where and when I'm posting those, so that you can watch them at your leisure or choose not to. All right, these 4 screws should be out now. Let's see if we can't get this to detach. One more. Boy. All right, well, there we go. And we should be able to get those screws out now. Screws are out. One of the things you want to do is as you work with these is check to make sure all of those screws are the same size. I'm going to put those into my bin. And we can see on the back here, interesting, that's probably what was making it a little tough. There was a stud here that I assume goes in a corresponding hole over here, and just made it a little bit tight to get that out. Not a big deal. All right, let's continue with this. This is why your free spool isn't working. It's not picking up the jack. You can see as it wants to go down, it's not going down. I suspect that this jack is on upside down. That would be my guess looking at this right away, because when you pull this, it's not pulling it in the right direction. All right, let's take those 4 screws out, get a better look at what's going on. Well, if you have any questions about this reel or any reel as we're working on this, go ahead and leave that in the comments section. I'll try and answer it for you. Sometimes it's as simple as what year was the reel made or that. Sometimes I know it, sometimes I don't. And in other situations, well, it has to do with a repair that's gone bad, or maybe you're hung up on something. In those cases, I'll try and get you the answer to that. All right, let's see what's going on under here. This came away. Those are your 4 bridge screws. Note that your 2 bridge screws go to the bottom are fully threaded, and the 2 that are partially threaded go to the top. And we'll take that main gear off now, and its assembly. Those drag washers look pretty good. Well, the jack was installed properly, as was the piece. All right, and we've got something going on here. So I think what's happened is this eccentric has been installed improperly because the eccentric spring is in the wrong position. Well, let's go ahead and deal with that first. And I may have to stop the video here if this screwdriver does work. That's a popular little wrench that I have. I always leave it here because it seems to always be the right one when I have to do something like this. Well, the spring is incorrect, and when that spring is incorrect, the eccentric is operating the wrong way. So we want to take that eccentric out. We have to roll it around, and then we can put it back in the right way. So I'm not sure. Gilbert said that this reel belonged to his dad, and I'm trying to do my best here to make sure that we can get this reel working again for him. So if you have a question like that, right, go to your schematic. Your schematic diagram is going to tell you how this should work, and it'll show you the right orientation. So now you'll see that the orientation of the spring is above rather than below. That's the way it belongs. And I'm not sure if we're going to be able to roll this or not by hand. Probably not. I'm going to have to use a little pliers. Very gingerly, I'm just going to grab this and rotate it a little bit to push in and set the spring. And what you want to do is you want to find the balance point on that spring so that it can set in but not shoot. It's there, it just takes a little bit of time. That's the balance point where it will set in but it won't shoot, and that's the proper orientation of that spring. Now that we have that spring done right, we can go ahead and put that trip lever back on, and that'll make this thing work properly. So this is some of the things that happen when you take a reel apart and you don't do your homework ahead of time. You wind up with, well, springs that come out maybe, anti-reverse dogs that you don't know how to reset, and other issues like that. So the best thing to do is take pictures along the way that'll show you the orientation of the pieces and parts on this reel. So when you take it out, well, you find a way to put it back in. Now I don't know, maybe this got opened up and everything shot out. That's a possibility. But now we have a free spool release that is working properly. All right, this case seems very clean. I'm just going to take a paper towel and see what we can get. Yeah, this is a very clean case. We don't need to do much there. There's a ball bearing on this side. I'm just going to oil that. I oil my ball bearings. we want to remove the pinion gear, or the gear sleeve. And to tap that out, you're going to need a pin that's smaller than the dimension of that pin that's inside. It's just the tail end of a little piece. And then you're going to have to push it through. Generally speaking, the older these are, the harder they are to push through. So you might need to kind of rock it back and forth with a pliers or something to get it out. There we go. And you want to do that because these gear sleeves tend to get a lot of dirt and accumulation under them. That's what's happened in this case. All of the greases are frozen, and you need to clean that up so that you have a nice smooth operation. So we're going to do that with the steel wool here. We're also going to take the time to clean the bridge plate on this. And then you want to do the same thing with the inside of the gear sleeve, because that will have some debris and dirt in there as well. Okay, well, we're all clean with that now. Let's clean the little residue off the top here. And we'll go ahead and we'll re-grease that. So these reels are nice reels. They're kind of similar in nature to a jig master with a mag assembly on it. And one up, so it's almost like the Jig Master 506, which also has the ball bearings in it. I'm tapping that stud back in now to hold it on. And you need to make sure that it clears the edge of that shoulder. So that last piece usually finishes by kind of pressing it in with the tip of a screwdriver here. All right, that should do it. Let's go ahead and take a look at the drag stack now. The drag washers look fine. We have a little washer that belongs on the bottom of the gear sleeve. There's a little bit of dirt and corrosion here, so let's work that off the back. I'm going to use 4/0 steel wool for that. And just get the old grease off. Some of that is a little bit of corrosion. I don't know if, I guess this is some kind of a steel gear. I don't know if it's stainless. It doesn't appear to be. And then we're going to push those other washers out like that. So these washers are still in good condition. You can see you still have the cross hatching on them. And these washers have been oiled. Now I generally don't recommend oiling. I recommend washers to use the drag grease. But the whole idea of this is to keep these just lubricated. And if it's got grease in there now, I'm not going to do anything more with that. I am going to inspect the channels and the teeth of the main gear to make sure they're all uniform. Look at it two ways. Look at it through the slots and look at it on the back edge to make sure that they're not warped. And then we can put a little bit of grease. I'm going to use Penn's precision reel grease for this, and I recommend that when you work on fishing reels, you only use fishing reel grease. I don't have a preference, but any fishing reel grease should be fine. They're all engineered pretty similar. All right, we're going to put the main gear in that first drag washer back in. Okay, we have 3 metal washers then. We have 2 round ones with flat internal sides. We have one that's got a round internal with 2 points. These are called keyed washers. These are called eared washers. And they alternate 2 of the keyed washers front and back, the eared one in the middle. So we have 1 washer in the assembly. Now let's put the second one in. Second of the drag discs. And the eared one goes in the middle, and there's 2 slots on the gear where they sit. Last one of the washers goes in. Last one of the keyed washers goes on. And then we have a long or bigger collar here. It's a combination collar and last pressure washer. Those go on like that. Your drag setup is complete. And what we need now is we need to find a spring for that anti-reverse dog. So Gilbert was fortunate enough to get the dog from going somewhere. Doesn't look like he was fortunate enough to find the spring, and I didn't find it in the internals here. So what did we find? Found this spring was backwards. That didn't help. We have our dog. We have our pinion gear. So let's go pay our attention to the dog, the pinion gear, and the jack assembly to complete the top end of this. So that's your yoke. This is the jack. And this is the pinion gear. And again, clean. We'll just inspect the teeth to make sure that they're okay. We're going to take the yoke and put some grease on both sides of that. And insert the pinion gear. Do the same thing here. Now if these were dirty, if they were grease choked or you noticed anything inside those grooves of the teeth, then you would certainly want to go clean that out. Use a brush or something to do that, toothbrush or the like. Okay, let's go ahead and see what we can do here now about the assembly. So there's 2 springs, one goes in each cavity. We have our yoke and pinion gear. I'm going to raise the jack assembly up, the eccentric free spool. Press down on that yoke and the like. Go ahead and put the jack in. And now you'll see with this that we're on the other side of the throw. When we go to move this, it's going to move in that direction now and pull that down. Okay, let's grab our bridge. And push down on the assembly, and the bridge goes in and rotates until you get to about perpendicular with where its final position is. I'm going to take our fully threaded bridge screw, going to bring that through, going to take the jack that was missing, and then we're going to insert a spring into that cavity there. Hopefully the spring I have is big enough. It may not be. If it is, isn't, I need to go back to the bin. Yep, that's the correct spring for this. Then we're going to complete the rotation, and we want to start by tightening down this piece. So if you're like Gilbert, if you have a reel that needs to be serviced, maybe you were even servicing it and something went wrong, and you're interested in having me do the service or repair, then you can contact me by sending me an email to the business card address that follows. That's the best way to reach me. I know a lot of folks try to call me or leave notes on the phone. Well, that's probably the least efficient of the ways to do that. So I would encourage you first and foremost to go ahead and contact me with the email. That's something that I answer every morning, and that's something that I can get back to you pretty quickly with in terms of a request for repair or service information. All right, well, we're just trying to work this one through. Seems like that probably has to get centered. There's something that's just not lining up quite right. Tighten all of those down, and we'll check to make sure that we have the free spool before we go any further. Okay, with that spring now installed properly, you'll see that this will rotate into the nook as opposed to away from the nook, which is the way it was doing that. And that should release everything. Well, there you go. So it's pulling in the pinion gear, that's pulling it off of the shaft, that's allowing the shaft to spin without turning the gears. And when you go to throw it back in, it'll pop out. That cavity there will accept the cavity on the spool right here, and that will make all the difference in the performance of that side of the reel. Well, before we go anywhere, we're going to pull this spool because we got another side over there with a bearing. This is just a bunch of line that I hope Gilbert will change, but I wanted to remove that one set of string there that was the kind of the cutout, if you will. And then we're going to get the rest of this to the point where I can put it back together, put a rubber band on it, and then from there Gilbert can do what he likes with the string. But I always recommend that you change your fishing line when you service your reel. So I don't know, this one seems to have some memory in it, so I would say it's not new line, but there is a possibility. And if it's new line, well, I don't want to run any more off of it, so I'm going to just leave it with this rubber band until we complete the project. Over on this side, the only thing you have here is a carrier for the bearing. Make sure it is clean, oil the bearing, and then if you like, Put a little bit of grease onto the studs on both sides so that the spool stud travels freely in the inner race of the bearing, and that this side glides on the inside of the pinion gear. All right, time to reinstall. Line up your hole, line up your pins, and we can press it down. There we go, seat that case. And that case is in pretty firm, so I'm just going to give it a spin wheel right now to make sure that it's spinning freely. And when I go to run it into gear, I want to make sure that we have an anti-reverse going there. And we have that anti-reverse is working. You can hear it clicking in the background. Okay, we have 4 screws that need to go back into the case. And we'll just get getting close to the end here, which is a good thing. So if you have one of these reels, let me know how you like the performance of it. I know what I like when I see the mechanicals of it, but I haven't taken one of these fishing. As I mentioned, the other side of this case does have an adjustment for the magnetics. Magnetics can slow the spool. That's the whole idea behind them. Penn has done a couple of magnetic reels. They did the 210 series, which was interesting, and they did the 10 series. That 10 series was really a 109, or actually a Penn 9, kind of on steroids. I really like that reel. You could cast that reel a mile, but it also didn't have the bulk to it. It's a smaller framed reel than the 209. And if you have any of those Penn Mag reels, and I'd like to know what you think of them. All right, one more of these. Then we can just put the handles on. We'll give it a final test. Get this thing back to Gilbert to go fishing. All right, there was one of these trim washers below. We had our star adjuster. Everything seems to be working well here. Got the one on top. Got our handle, which we pretty much straightened out. I grab this now. I'm just going to tighten this down before I go to install that handle screw, because if you don't tighten that star adjuster down before you put that handle screw on, you're going to trap the star adjuster. And if you trap that star adjuster, well, you're not going to have an easy time adjusting for the drag washers. All right, come back in and tighten this one down now. You need to align the scallop in the handle screw with the hole so that you can put the tie-down screw in. And this is the last part in my parts tray, so I think we've got them all back together again, plus a spring that was missing. And then we'll give it a ride here, see how we do. So Gilbert said that this reel belonged to his father, and it's always nice to see that you can take a reel that hasn't been working properly and get it back going again. So let's give it that test then. Oh boy, I like the way that one works. So while we're doing the testing, I want to thank all of our first responders and essential personnel and everybody involved in keeping us safe during the pandemic. Your efforts truly are appreciated. Thank you. All right, this one's ready to go fishing again. Let's test the drags. The drags are nice and tight. And Gilbert can go take this. I believe he's going to fish the Gulf of Mexico. He can go take this one fishing and have a lot of fun with it. So this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Thank you for watching. Everybody, please stay safe and stay well, and have a great day.